Greetings, family. I am doing a video of documents that I carried with me that I thought you all might find relevant. You can see, here's my documents. I have my African ancestry results, which will be required, I assume, when I get to Sierra Leone and I want to talk to them about citizenship. I'll need to show proof that I have origins in Sierra Leone. So I brought that paperwork with me. I printed it out in case they want a copy. That way I'm not trying to get something off my phone. I also have a bunch of medical information that was given to me by my son's PCP. I did mention in the previous video that he was able to get a waiver for the malaria and yellow fever vaccine. However, before they provided the waiver, they did educate him about these illnesses, what they entailed. And what was really cool is that they gave some other information about, playing it safe while eating abroad. They talked about different ways to be careful with your foods, especially if you're someone that has a sensitive stomach or you're going someplace where you're unfamiliar with the food. They had things about what to expect if you're in areas that are known for malaria, ways to reduce your risk. They have travel and immunization services, travelers' diarrhea, which apparently is really an issue. I've never really had that issue, but I guess people suffer from different things, especially when you think about being however many, feet in the air, and how gravity will affect your digestive system, then landing in a country where you may not be familiar with certain foods and how that might affect you. They also had in-flight fitness guide, which was kind of cool because we were waiting at one point for our flight in Washington Dulles International Airport, and my son was like, "Mommy, we really should stretch before we get on the plane." And I just thought that was really cool. I ended up standing right there and stretching with him in front of everyone. So that was a cool thing we did together. And please, I am not giving medical advice. I'm just offering you tips that were given by our provider before you travel. They even had tips for travelers to the developing world, whatever that means, right? So we have, they talk about how to address bites, fresh water and seawater related issues, heat, humidity, and sun related issues. So there's a whole this whole section is about 6 different documents on medical things that you might encounter and how to prepare yourself. Okay, now we're moving to TSA information, which is interesting because this video started about TSA papers, but I thought that it might be relevant to include everything that I had in my folder as I prepared for my journey. So we're going to come back to the TSA information just because there's a little more detail that I need to include about that, but I wanted to show you all the letters that TSA gives you with your known traveler number. It's called a KTN. K as in no, T as in traveler, N as in number, okay? I also had my immunization card from when I was like a baby. You can see how old this is, right? It's a really old card. My mom had this card, so that tells you, but I always carry it with me. Your yellow card is a lifetime card for people who may not have known that. You're supposed to keep that card, and every time you get an immunization, it would be updated in that book. So mine's just pretty withered, but yeah, it's still here. I carried my insurance cards. Now, my insurance is expired, but I did like a Cobra type thing, so I carried it anyway. My son's card, he has his own insurance, so I carried his card as well, just in case anything happened while we were abroad. Here we have our medical certificate with the order for the COVID test. This is saying that the COVID test was actually administered. At this point, we hadn't gotten our results back yet. Then we had the order from the doctor, because in order for me to get My son's test, I had to have an order from the doctor. They were not testing people who were not having symptoms. And then this was really cool. These are the negative results from the airport once we got to, uh, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the negative result here. These are our negative results for COVID. And you can see it says it here, has our negative results, right? Not detected. And you can see the date as well. I told you guys I was concerned about my 72-hour time frame for the test, but there was no issue with that. And then this is when we got to Ghana that you had to pay for your test ahead of time. So this was your receipt that you actually paid for the test online before you could move forward. See, it says 858 CDs, which is 150, I guess, American dollars, right, to pay for this COVID test. So I paid for it for myself and my son, and this is the name of the company that administers this test, or takes the payment for this test for the Kotoke International Airport. You see, it's there. Here, I even printed out like my travel itinerary, and I shared it with some people before I left, just in case anything happened. Here's my tickets from British Airways. I kept those. I had all of this in a folder, and before I boarded with British Airways, they actually gave a letter stating, kind of preparing you, saying that, ahead of your journey to Accra today, we would like to make you aware of a number of entry requirements. So they prep you. They let you know that you're going to have to complete the information for the PCR test, that you need to complete a health declaration form while you're on the plane, and that there will be testing on arrival, right? So you need to make sure that you do those things before you land. It makes the process a lot smoother because then you can just kind of move through rather than stepping to the side and having to fill out papers and all that other nonsense. I did have a manila folder with everything in it. And I got this idea from one of our Limblick members. When she traveled, she'd recommended, carrying a folder. So I'll go over it one more time, and then we'll come back to the TSA stuff, because that's a little more detailed. Those are all the papers I had in my folder. Okay, so for the TSA information, which, was important, we're here. How this worked for me, I'm just going to stay focused on the TSA stuff, is that I went online, I did I just Googled pre-TSA check, and it took me to a site where I had to do a pre-enrollment. It asks you, short, it's like a short survey, a few questions, have you ever committed a crime? Is there any reason you can't travel? Have you ever been diagnosed with mental illness? Are you willing to complete a background check? And you pay $85, and if you're approved, it's good for 5 years. But what they require is that you go into a local center or a center near your home where you can have your fingerprints done. So you have to do a criminal background check, as well as FBI, I believe. So they do this criminal background check, and then they get back to you and they let you know whether you've been approved. So both my son and myself were approved for the TSA number. And basically what it says is the Transportation Security Admission, TSA, that's the acronym TSA, has reviewed your application for eligibility to participate in the TSA Pre-check program. The letter serves as a determination that you have successfully completed TSA's eligibility assessment, right? Please provide the KTN number listed above and any frequent flyer profiles for each individual reservation you book on participating airlines, right? Pre-check on your printed or mobile boarding pass for notification of eligibility. So it tells you when you're traveling, look for that pre-check box, and you're just going to put your known traveler number, because once they approve you, you get a number. See, my son has a number now. That's his number. And he puts it in the box, and then he just goes to the pre-check, and he's good. And you do that ahead of time. Now, for me, the pre-check, it worked out well. The pre-check worked out fine. Um, when I was in the US, it was fine. So basically, I had a bag full of food. I froze my beverages, right? Put them in the freezer, so my beverages were frozen. There was one juice that had gotten away from us, and it wasn't frozen, and they did take that. But I also had some yogurt. I forget the name of the company, but they put their yogurt in like these little cute glass jars. Somehow I thought that was a good idea. I took two of those. They did take those. But everything else went through fine. I had a whole bag full of food, so I didn't really mind that they took those small things. I sent my bag through on the belt. It goes through the scanner. They look at everything. Uh, then we put our like regular bags up. I don't even, you know what? Quite honestly, I really don't even recall putting my knapsack up. No, I think I did put my knapsack through the belt as well. The knapsack went through. We didn't have to take off our shoes or jewelry or jackets or anything like that. We just simply walked through the scanner. The airline staff also uses this TSA Pre-check. You'll see them, put their bags up on the belt and they simply walk through the scanner. They don't go through the process of taking off their shoes. This program is supposed to be for frequent travelers as well as people who may not do well waiting for long periods of time or long lines. And you will successfully be enrolled in the program as long as you don't have a criminal background or any history of mental illness or anything like that. So once they clear your fingerprints, they'll send you the letter that I'm sharing with you guys now, that tells you that you're eligible. And when you're making your reservations, you're booking your transportation, make sure you put that number on there. It's good for 5 years. It's $85. I think I mentioned that. Oh, it's not good for other countries, apparently. It may be. I mean, I've only been through England as well as Africa, and I'm not sure if it'll apply when I'm coming through Morocco on my way home. So I'm going to say that internationally it may not apply, because I know when I got to London, I told them I have pre-check TSA status in the US, and they said it doesn't apply there. So I had to take off my shoes, I had to take off my jackets because I had on a lightweight raincoat, like a parka, and I also had on a hoodie. I had to take both of those off. I removed my shoes. I removed my liquids. They made me put them in a plastic bag. I think I showed you guys the bag in another video. So this bag is what they had me put into, like a Ziploc. They gave me this little Ziploc bag and had me put my gels and nail polish remover wipes in there. So I did that. I went through successfully, but my son's I had to remove my laptop as well. You have to take your laptop out the bag and put that in a separate container. Like, they wanted everything separated and divided. So we ended up like looking like we had much more stuff than we did, because they had you pulling things out and separating them. And then, there's the long wait at the end after everyone else's stuff comes down, the little rollers that you can take yours. So my son's bag was held up and pulled to the side. And I'm wondering, I should have probably told him not to wear his necklace, or what does he have in his bag that I don't know about? They held up his bag. We waited. I went and sat down, but I could see him, he was in my line of sight. And when they pulled him to the side, they went through his bag, and his school Chromebook was in there. It's like a tiny, book that he uses to put his lessons in. He forgot that he brought it with him. Tells you how thrilled he is about school. But his Chromebook was in there, and they wanted to know what that was. And he explained it to them. They just kind of let him go. But it held us up a good hour just because he forgot it was in his bag. So be cognizant of what you're packing in your bag, what might cause you further delay. Be prepared. Hopefully this video will help you prepare. So the pre-TSA check is good in the US, but it may not be good abroad. Also, someone in the Limblick group, if you don't know what Limblick is, it's Living My Best Life in Ghana. It's one of my favorite channels that I follow. One of the sisters there was saying, let me see. We're talking about the pre-TSA. Oh, a sister there was saying that Groupon had a special for $85 for 150, I think. You could buy your pre-TSA check status, the application. You could pay for it, and you get like a few nights at a hotel for free. When I tried to go on Groupon and utilize that, it wasn't active. I don't know how effective it will be unless you're traveling nationally anyway. I don't think it will apply to hotels international, but it was a good deal. So you can try looking for that on Groupon. When I contacted Groupon, it wasn't active, but it may be by the time you're ready to travel. Also, you can go to the TSA Pre-check site and it will put you through the enrollment process. When you go through that enrollment process, it asks you to put in what kind of ID you're going to use to identify yourself when you get to your enrollment location and the place where you need to like take your picture and do your fingerprints. So I put in passport, so that's what it required, that I bring my passport to a local Identigo site. The Identigo site was like an hour from my house, but it was near to the nearest airport. I went down there. Well, let me go back. I told you about the location. So that particular location was an hour from my house. And when it comes up on your screen, when you put the location in, it automatically shows you the appointment times. So you can take the appointment that's available for you at the best hour. You may need to check a few to see what works best. For me, it gave me like 10 a.m., so I just took it. I went the following day. I drove to the location. I went in. I checked in with the staff. I told them what I was there for, the pre-check. They walked me back, took a picture of me, asked me a few questions, some of the same questions that were in the enrollment form. I guess they wanted to make sure you're consistent. They take your fingerprints. If you've never had your fingerprints done before, then you're not familiar with the process. If you have, then you'll know what I'm referring to. So I've worked in social services for many years, and you always have to get criminal background checks, local, state, federal. They put each finger down on a glass, they press it down on ink, and then you have to roll your finger. No, I'm sorry, they don't use ink anymore, actually. What they're doing now is using like a glass. It's a machine that has a glass that you just kind of place your fingers on and you roll your finger back and forth. And this machine is able to pick up the imprint of your fingerprints. You get your fingerprints done. They'll let you know that you may receive your known traveler number. If you're approved, your known traveler number will be emailed to you. If it's not emailed to you within a certain amount of time, you're welcome to call them back. But usually they'll email you the number to let you know you've been approved. And then you'll receive the formal letter that I'm showing you below. I hope that answered any questions about the TSA pre-check. I think it was helpful to have it on our boarding passes. It made it a lot easier when we were traveling. I'm looking forward to using it in the future. It just wasn't, the best thing for international travel because it seems to only be good in the U.S. But if you're someone that's traveling with someone that may have a health challenge or some sort of limitation, this would be the best way to do it. I know one of the reasons why I even thought about doing the pre-TSA check is because I don't like standing in lines. Some of the lines are really long. In addition to that, when I'm on my feet for too long, I've had like issues with my lower back just from car accidents I've had in the past. So I figured if I can cut down on the amount of time that I'm standing in line and dragging suitcases and all this other stuff, that would be to my benefit. So I hope this is helpful. Please feel free to put any questions you have below. Remember to put all of your paperwork together in one space so that you're not fumbling and looking for things. And the only other thing, one last suggestion that I would offer is to make a copy of your passport. I said I was going to do that and I didn't. What I did end up doing was taking a picture of my passport on my phone. I've gone places like to Western Union to buy a SIM card and I forgot my passport, and as a result I wasn't able to take care of those transactions. I have to go back. So please remember to make a copy of your passport. That way, if anything happens, you have it. You can print it out like I have these papers here, or you can take a picture on your phone. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to drop any questions below. Remember to share this video, like and subscribe, and whatever else I can offer, feel free. If I haven't answered your questions, to ask for further detail, and if we have to make another video on it, we will. Thank you. Blessings.